Well, a goal in the 4th minute with Crystal Palace's first attack of the game, scored by Munoz, just about onside, and then City with some great chances, a brilliant 1-2 of sorts with Haaland put through and he shot towards goal and it hit the face of Henderson. Then the base of the post from a shot from the edge of the area from Ilkay Gundogan. Savinho couldn't turn over the rebound, and then a brilliant finish from Haaland from a cross from Matheus Nunes. But in the midst of it all, there's been 3 absolutely brilliant blocks from Ruben Dias that has made him a pivotal figure. And so at half-time here at Selhurst Park, it is Crystal Palace 1, City 1. Studio, where I'm sure 2 centre-halves will have plenty to say about Ruben Dias, won't they, Chris?
Yes, you'd have to say. I think that is the case. Ali, half-time at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace 1, Manchester City 1. And I think we will start there with a couple of centre-backs amongst us here in the studio at Matchday Live, Kit Symons and Keith Curle. Ultimately, Ruben Dias and those blocks are probably the key reason why this game is 1-1.
Yeah, I think if you have a look, his understanding, game understanding, and that willingness to make those blocks excellent. The concern is that you're thinking that he's having to make those blocks. Poor start. I think if you have a look, I don't know if you can get a still of the build up to the goal when you've got 2 centre backs there and you've got both full backs behind them. There's panics. If I'm a centre back and I'm there and my fellow centre backs alongside me and my full backs are behind me, I'm thinking I'm in the wrong position. No pressure on the ball. You can't be that close to it. Get out of there because you can't affect it.
You want to be in that sort of like dish shape with the 2 full backs higher than the 2 centre backs, making that dish shape, and it was the exact opposite.
Yeah, it was an upturned bowl, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Carl Walker, who played the goal scorer, Daniel Munoz onside, and Rico Lewis. I don't think he knew that Munoz was there.
I think he had a little look at him just before the pass was made. So he had a little look where he was, and I think he knew he was behind him. So I think he thought he was going to be offside. But obviously, as you say, Kyle had dropped deeper on the near side, so playing him on. So it was a bit of a mix-up, and like I say, not the shape that you want from your back four, really.
Yeah, it's interesting that we're starting this sort of half-time wrap on a negative, even though we were talking about the positive of Ruben Dias's defending. And ultimately, it's come from a half that if you tuned in after 5 minutes and you didn't know that City were a goal down, it felt like a half that City controlled. Yet there were still these moments where they're having to make last-ditch challenges, Keith. Yeah,
and again, that might be down to the overall personnel, as in you can tell there's missing cogs at the minute. It's not as smooth as what it has been. And again, you have 7, 8 players missing. That is going to happen, but the fundamentals have still got to be in place, whether that's in the first minute of the game or the last minute of the game. As you said then, as the game grew on, you're thinking, comfortable. Even 1-0 before we scored, you're thinking comfortable. A goal's going to come.
Yeah. So just a reminder of the defence today: Rico Lewis, Carl Walker, Ruben Dias, and Josko Gvardiol. Nathan Ake, we already knew was going to be injured. Manu Akanji, we hoped might be fit. He's not fit for this one. Maybe Juventus, maybe Manchester United next week. But ultimately, it's the defence that we're talking about to start this half-time wrap. Let's switch to slightly more positive. We'll focus on the goal first, because before the game, we had that quote from Pep Guardiola where he said he wanted Savinho and Matheus Nunes to bring the energy, and it was Nunes that set up the goal with a brilliant looping cross. And Erling Haaland, as night follows day, always scoring against Crystal Palace.
That's right, yeah. I mean, it was a brilliant ball in, like you say, Chris. And sometimes, you know, you get wingers and you expect sort of clever things from them, or, like I say, bringing energy, certainly, as Pep wants. But sometimes just get it and cross it. Do you know what I mean? And that's what he does, Nunes. He gets it back on his strong foot, but puts in a really good ball, and then he pulls to the far stick, Haaland, but he's up against Gay, who everyone's sort of raving about, speaking very highly about. Now, he has got a height advantage over him, but for me, it's a bit too easy. I think Gay needs to try and jump into him or make it more difficult. But keeper then comes, it's windy conditions as well. It's very blustery there. Keeper gets caught, Henderson, in no man's land, and it ends up being very simple for Erling Haaland. For him, it's a very simple header just back across goal, and it's very comfortable, but it comes from a really good cross in.
Yeah, 13th Premier League goal of the season for Erling Haaland, back level with Salah in the Golden Boot race now. Keith, if you're defending against a big striker, and you're giving away that height advantage. I think Erling's 6'5", I think Mark Gahey's 6 foot, so it's a 5-inch. What do you do in that situation to try and unsettle him?
You get up against him and make sure that he can't get a run and a jump. But then also then you're thinking about, well, if I'm going to pin him and keep him on the ground, then I need my goalkeeper to come and get it. If I'm stood there, I'm thinking that's the goalkeeper's ball. I'll do my job, I'll go and stop him from jumping, and it's one of those, I want my goalkeeper to come and get it.
So do you think those two, Henderson and Gahey, will be having a bit of a chat as they go down the tunnel about that one?
Yeah, a bit of a mix-up for sure. And I say it's blustery conditions, so for the keeper coming, you're better off either positive, really come, or stay on your line. Yeah, or stay completely on your line. And he did neither, got caught in that no-man's land. And like I say, in the end, it made it really easy for Erling Haaland to score his goal and just get your header on target and it's going in, and that's what he did.
Yeah, it's a brilliant looping header right into the top corner. So Erling's done exactly what he had to do, but you feel, both of you perhaps, Crystal Palace helped him out a little bit with that one.
I think all good centre-backs blame goalies.
I
was normally 5 yards behind the goalie, so
just backing up Keith blaming the goalie. Yeah, OK. So 1-1, they're the goals we've covered off. Daniel Munoz 1-0 after 4 minutes for Crystal Palace. Erling Haaland got his goal on the 31st. He's got this ridiculous stat streak against Crystal Palace. We talked before the game, he got the hat-trick, his first Premier League hat-trick against them, August 2022, his first season. He's now scored every time he's faced them in the Premier League, 4 times, and his 6 goals in that 4-game spell. It's funny how certain strikers against certain teams, they just always hit the net.
It's an incredible record, but I mean, also, be fair, Erling Haaland against most teams in the Premier League, he scores goals. You know, I don't think there's any particular team he's got a massive drought against as such, but he's a phenomenal goal scorer. There's no doubt about that, and you know, he's broken records and will continue to do so, I think.
He had another great chance as well. We were interested to see how the De Bruyne-Haaland axis would work. Now that De Bruyne is playing back-to-back starts, Keith, he laid him through on a plate, and it was a sensational stay from Dean Henderson to keep Haaland out.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think Henderson knew a lot about it. But I think you could tell as soon as the ball was going into Kevin, Haaland's on his bike. He'd gone, which
telepathic, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, and I think because he knows that where the ball can come. I think it will help Haaland getting his goal and the simplicity of it, as in the ball into a wide area, cut back on your right foot, put the ball in. Now having that variety and saying, right, we're going. Sometimes we're not always going to have a third man running or a second man running underlap or overlap in that creativeness. Sometimes we're just going to get it wide and put it in. That will help them create more spaces in and around Haaland as well, which is what then you want Kevin De Bruyne to go and pop up in those holes.
I mean, that ball from De Bruyne was absolutely superb for the chance for Haaland, because it was. I think other people would see it, but I don't think anyone else would attempt to play it, and certainly no one has to be able to execute the weight of pass from real tight. It had to be absolutely perfect, and it was. It's brilliant.
I don't think Haaland would, if the ball was going into anybody else, I don't think Haaland would have made his run as soon. But because he knows it's going into Kevin, you're thinking like, if I make that run.
Well, it's a key point you make. So basically, most people don't have the cadence of Erling Haaland, the long legs, the pace, the burst of pace, and the strength to hold off the defender. But most providers haven't got the nous that Kevin's got. So if you take either of them out of that, it doesn't happen at all, does it?
No. That's right. But the two of them together, and it's brilliant. There's 2 or 3 occasions in that first half where you can see the link up and how good it is. And like I say, another 1 or 2 opportunities like that, and there'll be the winning goal will come for sure.
It does feel like City are in the ascendancy. I made the point in that first half when we were watching it. It feels like City do control games of football, but then there's these moments, a recent tendency where these moments just seem to get away from them, little lapses here and there. Why is that happening?
Oh, I'm not sure, but it is a worry, certainly, because even the brilliant block from Diaz, from Lerma, I think it was, from the Lerma shot, full stretch. It's brilliant. It's a good break from Palace, and City are sort of struggling a little bit. But then they got bodies coming in as well. They've got midfielders like Lerma, who took the shot away, coming in freely, unmarked, sort of backing up the play as well. So that's a worry from a City perspective. And that's what they've got to try and stop. Teams can break with maybe 1 man, 2 men going forward, but if the whole team's coming forward and they're getting midfielders free, sort of following it up as well. That's a bit of a concern.
I don't have the stats. I've got all of City's results in front of me, but they went behind against Ipswich, won the game, went behind against Brentford, 1 minute, they scored, went behind again today. It's happening quite a lot, these slow starts.
I think did Ali saved 13 points or something from losing positions or something like that, I think I heard.
So there you go. So there's a stat from Ali. His research is way better than mine, you can tell. But As a coach, and you've both coached, or maybe you were talking pre-match about the culture of players, what can they do within that dressing room, within that training, Monday to Friday, to work on not getting caught with these slow starts?
It's difficult because the way that Pep wants to play, he has his foundations, which is slightly unpredictable, where you're having your left back going in and trying to be a holding, sometimes sitting midfield player, but also being advanced and having that the freedom to go and find spaces higher up the pitch as well, which is going to dismantle you. But then it's a case of then on that transition, when loss of possession, getting back behind the ball is not just enough. Something I said about the academy game, just being back behind. There was one point that I picked out with Palace had got possession of the ball on a turnover. Kevin De Bruyne's first thought was to go, where's me right back? But there's a midfield player just inside of him, and he's vacated and gone there, and the ball got played to Hughes, I think it was, and he's ended up having the shot. And you're thinking like...
Hughes through to Eze had the shot, and it was offside, but there was a moment where you're like, they're walking through here.
Yeah, you're thinking like, well, then you've got to get back in behind the ball, and you've got jobs to do as well, denying space. When the marker man went to mark space, and it's when you've got to get that right.
Yeah, it was the quote that you said, wasn't it? It's not enough to be behind the ball. Yeah. You've got to work hard even when you're in there. And that, speaking to two centre-backs who've done it at the top level in this country, is really intriguing.
Yeah, the goal against, the back four were all back, but they were in the wrong shape. Like I say, the two centre-halves had come out to press, and the two full-backs had stayed deeper rather than coming with them, and if anything, being slightly advanced with them where you want them to be. So they were back in shape, but the wrong shape. The bodies were all there.
Yeah, key stats from the first half. City have had 61% of the possession. Their expected goals, they've outperformed Crystal Palace 2-1, 1.03 XG for City. Palace 0.47, but ultimately it doesn't matter what the XG is. It's the score on the doors, and it is 1-1 at half-time. What do you think Pep will be saying to the team in at half-time, Keith?
I think they want the ball moved quicker. And again, it's those nervous positions of the transitional periods, as in, I think there's been a few tackles that you can win as well. There's been a few times where Palace have broke and there's been a half tackle when you can nullify it there by winning that ball. And again, then it's a case of like that freedom, get the ball into wide areas and then have that creativeness, either put it in or get people running off to create goal scoring opportunities.
Yeah, you mentioned nervous positions. Do you think there'll be any nervousness creeping in? Because although they beat Nottingham Forest on Wednesday, the recent bad run of form for this club is not too far in the rearview mirror, Kit.
Yeah, it's hard for it not to be. I mean, they'll try and keep a positive mindset for sure, but it's difficult. If the game stays 1-1 coming to the latter stages, there will be an element of that creeping in, I would imagine. But then it's down to City to try and be in the ascendancy and try and be on the front foot, and rather than be worrying about conceding a goal, be looking to try and score that winning goal, which I'm sure they will. So, like I say, the recent run's not been brilliant, but I think the Forest result has given everyone that bit of extra confidence. So should it get to the later stage, it's still 1-1. I'm expecting the City to still be positive and look to try and get the winning goal.
Pep said pre-match he challenged Matheus Nunes and Savinho to bring the energy. We've already talked about Matheus putting the cross in for Haaland. Haaland scored the goal. So an assist for him. How do you rate their energy that they've brought to this game?
You can tell they're going to be the outlet. Savinho's had a great opportunity inside the box on his favoured left foot. Probably one thing you'd say is can he get the ball a little bit higher and be more of a threat down the outside rather than just saying, right, well, I'm going to come back in on my favourite. Sometimes just run the lad down the line first of all, and that creates different spaces. And then where you get possession of the ball, try and stay higher rather than just coming into there. Then you don't affect their back line. Staying higher affects them.
Yeah, I think they'll be happy with the performance from Nunes. I think Savinho, they probably would want. I think Pep will want a little bit more from him. I mean, wingers, wide players, they're going to be judged on assists and goals. Now, Nunes has given energy and given an assist for a goal. We need a bit more from the other side as well. Yeah,
Doku and Grealish on the bench, which gives great options in this second half. Doku got a goal, got an assist against Nottingham Forest in the week. A great celebration, by the way. His little dancing. How do you rate the celebration?
I was never one for celebrating, so I was always back on the halfway line.
Yeah, just tutting at everybody.
Yeah, well done.
Guys, got a job to do. So obviously, you'd imagine if Doku comes on, he'll be out wide because that's what he does. If we see Jack Grealish in this second half, is he wide as we've seen him, wide left often, or does he go through the centre as we saw him midweek?
Well, he did very well midweek from there, and we will speak about disappointed not to start today. So he could come on in either position. It's where Pep thinks that he needs the change and he needs that extra impetus, and Jack can do it in either position.
OK, right, we all predicted a Manchester City win. That is what we hope for. You can see Crystal Palace's goal scorer there, Daniel Munoz, back out already for the second half. Manchester City just preparing to make their way from their changing room, led by Ruben Dias. The captain, Carl Walker, will lead them onto the field. And that means it is time to hand back to our commentary team. Michael Brown is alongside Alistair Matt.
Thank you, Chris. Yep, City in familiar circumstances trailing. 13 points already rescued this season. You may remember they trailed to Crystal Palace also in the 4th minute, the last time they were at Selhurst Park, and then at half-time it was 1-1, and then City went bang, 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 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, and won the game, albeit Palace did pull one back to make it